All right, let's talk about something that's happening all around us all the time, but is mostly invisible. It's this massive world of data collection. It's powered by all the gadgets and services we use every single day. So, we're going to get into how your data is being used, and this is the important part, how you can start taking back some control. This quote right here, it just nails it. We're in a totally new phase of technology. It's not always about a screen you're tapping or a keyboard you're typing on anymore. It's designed to be seamless, to just fade into the background and work. But that convenience, it definitely comes with a price tag. Exactly. I mean, think about it. Your smart speaker, your car's infotainment system, that fitness tracker on your wrist, they're all part of this invisible web. We've invited them into the most private spaces in our lives, but the terms of service, that invitation, well, it's usually buried in pages of fine print we never read. So first, let's just get a handle on the sheer scale of what's going on. Because this isn't just about your phone anymore. This whole new reality has a name, and it's being built, brick by digital brick, into the world around us. And that's the official term for it, ambient computing. It's just technology that's always on, always sensing, always there. Like a smart thermostat that learns when you're home, or a voice assistant that's just waiting to hear its wake word. It works by constantly observing its environment, and that environment includes you. And this, right here, this is the real-world result of that. Every little conversation, every habit, every time you walk from one room to another, it can all be turned into a data point. The one place that used to be your private sanctuary is now, basically, a rich source of behavioral data for tech companies. Okay, so where does all this data actually go, and why is it so incredibly valuable? Let's follow the trail and get into the actual business model behind all this. Get a load of this number. It is just staggering. It comes from a study in the British Medical Journal, and what they found was that a huge 88% of the mobile health apps they looked at had code inside that was built to collect and share user data, often with companies you've never even heard of. And we're not just talking about anonymous bits of info here. This is some of the most sensitive, personal information you could possibly imagine. Your health conditions, your real-time location, even data about sexual activity from period tracking apps. It gets packaged up and sold to this huge network of advertisers, data brokers, and marketers. So yeah, the bottom line is your data is the raw fuel for some of the biggest industries on the planet. It powers targeted ads, it helps companies do market research, and now, the really big one, your personal photos, your work documents, your private posts. They're being used to train the massive large language AI models that are literally reshaping our world. But look, this goes way beyond just getting some creepy ads that follow you around the internet. The constant data collection from all our Internet of Things devices, well, it opens up some pretty serious security risks. You really have to think of every single smart device you own as a potential door into your digital life. The threats can be something simple, like a default password that's super easy to guess, or something way more sinister, like your smart camera getting hijacked and used as part of a giant botnet attack. It's this huge, tangled web of vulnerabilities. When you look at all this, it is really easy to feel, well, pretty hopeless. Like the fight for privacy is already over and we lost. But it's not. And this is the point where we pivot away from the problem and toward the real, actual things you can do about it. The great news is you actually have way more power here than you might think. You just need to know where to look. So let's open up the toolkit. Okay, this right here is the single most important thing to get. The biggest privacy risk you face is almost always the default settings. The whole business model banks on the fact that most of us will just click accept and never, ever look at the settings menu again. But changing them, that's your best line of defense. Here is a huge one. This simple little toggle switch basically tells apps they can't track what you do on other apps and websites. They can't even ask you for permission. It's an incredibly powerful way to just shut off a major pipeline of data flowing out of your phone. A lot of us are essentially donating our creative work, our personal writing, and our professional lives to train AI models without even knowing it. Most of the big platforms, from social media to the software you use for work, have an opt-out setting, but it's usually buried deep in the privacy controls. You gotta go in there and flip that switch yourself. And hey, remember, this is not a one-and-done fix. Companies are always adding new features, and those new features often come with data collection turned on by default. A really good habit is to just do a quick privacy checkup every few months, especially after a big software update, just to make sure things are still set the way you want them. Okay, so we've covered some specific settings. Now let's zoom out a bit and talk about a powerful security mindset. A whole philosophy, really, that you can apply to your entire digital life. In the world of cybersecurity, there are basically two ways of thinking. Default allow is kind of like throwing an open door party. Anybody can walk in unless you specifically stop them at the door. Default deny, on the other hand, is like a club with a bouncer and a very strict guest list. Nobody gets in unless they are explicitly on that list. And that is the gold standard for security. And you can use that same guest list logic yourself. When an app asks for permission to see your contacts, or use your microphone, or track your location, you have to ask yourself, does it really need this to do its job? If the answer is no, just deny it. You start from a place of zero trust and only let in what is absolutely essential. So the key takeaway here is pretty simple. Privacy is not a passive state anymore. It's not something that just happens. It's an active practice. It's something you do. Taking a few minutes to dive into your settings and think about permissions, that puts you right back in the driver's seat. You get to make the rules. And that kind of leaves us with this final thought to chew on. As all this ambient computing and AI gets woven deeper and deeper into the fabric of our lives, the small choices we make today about our data, about our security mindset, are going to set the boundaries of our privacy for years and years to come. The only question is, what are those boundaries going to be? Thanks for tuning in.